Lucky you.
36 best
Tuned
holes in
into
golf.
Alternate Shots podcast,
Barney's Army.
where we talk about golf,
Sandy.
poker,
James Bond.
horse racing,
Double.
classic movies.
Zenyatta.
We have no script.
Down the stretch they
And
come.
we are glad you joined us.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
I don't know if this is a good news or a bad news for you, but I just had a phone call from Tom Neoporti, and he wants to call you. Are you at home? Can you wait for his phone call? I said, yes, I'm at home. My phone rings, and it's Tom Neoporti. And he said, Alicia, this is Tom from Wingfoot. You told me that if I ever need an assistant to call you, would you take the job? I need an assistant. I almost got in shock, but immediately my mind went fast. How could I let this opportunity go by? And I said, yes, Tom, yes, I'll take the job.
No, ask Jack Nicklaus in the 74 Open, right? He busts his drive right up there at the middle of the fairway and hits some sort of middle iron on the green above the hole, right?
Right.
At an 18-footer for birdie. He walks off the hole four putting and makes a six.
Makes a six.
And now he is the greatest golfer, clearly, of all time. At that point in time, maybe even still today, he's one of the, if not Tiger, but at that time, nobody was better.
It's one of the two of them. There's no question.
This up. They both hit a beautiful shot into one. That pin was right in the middle, that terrible spot on one. We already talked about it. And they both managed to make birdies. So they're one under par. Okay, this is going to be a great day. Second hole, Norman drives it in the trees, so he has to pitch out. And he hits a pretty good wedge shot up there, maybe 12 feet above the hole on two. Pin sort of like in that front area we were looking at before. Fuzzy hit a great drive and just must have nuked whatever that mid iron was, maybe a 5 or 6 iron over the flag, but it went to the back of the green, as I was describing before. And
Right.
he had that terrible downhill, little bit right to left, little bit left to right, right? What's he do? He holds it.
Yeah.
He holds it, so he goes 2 under, and Norman missed his par putt and then missed the 2-footer coming back. That was game over right there.
He hit the ball, one putted 15. He one putted 16. He one putted 17. This is all in the third round. He one putted 18. Now, I don't know if they were pars or birdies, but he one putted them all, telling us the story. And so the Sunday they were going out. They normally play on Sundays, but they did because the weather delayed everything. It's going off on the first hole, and Frank Stranahan came out to watch him, or actually came out and watched him tee off. He said, "What are you doing, Frank?" He said, "I thought I'd come up here and watch Hogan. I'm going to follow around Ben Hogan because he's going to win the U.S. Open,
Yeah.
the 1959 U.S. Open." Ha, ha, ha. So what happens? Stranahan goes down the first hole, which we just covered, that 460-yard par, 50-yard par 4. Billy Casper gets in the hole, one putts. He one putts 2. He one putts 3, as we talked about. He one putted 4 for birdie, and he one putted 5. He had 9 one putts in a row from the finish of his third round to the first 5 holes of his final round. And that's why he won the U.S. Open. Well, parting thoughts on 4 West, other than it's not a gentle stroll down a 415-yard par 4.
My parting thoughts would be the same as my brother Neil's parting thoughts. Put the swale back in. I'd love to see them do that. I think they thought it would be too jolting a change.
However, as much as I do love the screen, I do think that the Biarritz would be really, really cool because it would add an element even more so to this hole that would stick out completely in your mind.
Mickelson looked at it, and I think it was Saturday or Sunday, and he took out a hybrid. It's only 160, 155, maybe 162. And it looked like he was trying to scoop lefty, a scoop 4 hybrid or whatever, over that bunker by the green and on, right? So he's looking at the shot, and he goes at it. Darned if he didn't hit it 8 feet.
Right.
He only hit it not 8 feet to the pin. He hit it 8 feet from where he started.
Right.
So you think about how he lost that Open. He might have lost it here on the 5th hole trying that shot rather than taking a wedge, just popping it down there. A wedge from where he was would have rolled right in front of the green, right? Maybe gets it up and down. So basically, okay, it's not about the money. Let's go, Billy. This has to be talked about. You know,
live versus any tour, or live, just the whole concept of live is, in my opinion, it's all money driven. It's not even live versus PGA. It's just with or without the PGA, it's money driven. It's not anything else. I don't think there's any kid alive that had aspirations of growing up to play golf to make money, to make millions of dollars. Maybe nowadays it's true. I don't know. Maybe sports has changed that much, but certainly Tiger Woods, when you see him as a kid saying, when I grow up, I want to beat Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer. He's not saying when I grow up, I want to get a huge contract from Nike and make tons of money. You know, in baseball, the same thing. You get guys like George Brett, who was famous for saying, I can't believe they pay me to do this. I'm sure Willie Mays didn't aspire to make a fortune playing baseball. I'm Jackie Robinson. Maybe the world's different now. You know, you see someone like Aaron Judge, he's certainly different. His loyalty to the Yankees was based on dollar signs, plain and simple. I guess that's the way sports is going. I think it's unfortunate. But in a sport like golf, the fan base is kind of unique. Football, baseball, your fan base is probably more local. That's not always true, but New Yorkers root for New York teams and Californians root for Californian teams. And I'm sure, you know, Texans root for Jordan Spieth because he came from there, but other people root for him too. But it's less of a loyalty thing. But to tell me that you're playing on the Live Tour for anything but money is ludicrous. Because what
Yeah.
are you playing for?
So what are we looking at here?
Babe in the Woods. It's I think it's, what does it say? 167 from the back, 159 from the black, and 148.
What about Johnny Miller though? 1973, he had that fabulous last round at Oakmont. In 74, Massacre of Wingfoot. They set it up, whether they admit to it or not, they set it up hard. But Miller hits it in this bunker. What happened to him?
He hit four. It took him 4 to get out of there.
Took him
4 shots and bye back-to-back opens, all by this little Babe in the Woods. So he got over it.
We were originally members of Waikiki Guild. And so Dad would let us come over play on Mondays, was caddy day back then. And so I can remember playing on Mondays. When Dad finished 3rd in the Open in 59, I was only 8. So I was upset that he didn't win. I realize now him finishing 3rd in the Open at age 43 with 6 kids as a host pro might have been a greater feat than winning the Masters, to be honest with you. But so my memories kind of started then, I would say 8, 9 years old.
And were you playing already?
Oh yeah, I was playing. Yep, I can remember we would go in and get a brown cow or something at the turn, you know, and I realize now the bartender probably hated us because he had to go in the kitchen to get the ice cream and stuff.
Scoop of ice cream.
Looking back on it, I bet he hated seeing the little Harmon kids come in there on Mondays, you know.
Did
So
you have
that's-
any
that's
idea
how-
what was in store for you over the years, coming years?
No idea. But what I will say is, in 1975 was the first year I was caddying there. Evel Knievel shows up at Wingfoot, and I mean, I think a lot of people in this era don't realize it, but 1975, Evel Knievel was the equivalent of Tiger Woods or Michael Jordan or Muhammad Ali. He was a global icon.
Headliner.
Yeah, he had just jumped over unsuccessfully 13 buses at Wembley in front of 80,000 people. Fractured his pelvis, broke his hand, was paid $1 million for it. And the following year, he jumped in Kings Island in Ohio, and 57% of US households tuned in to view it. It's a record. It's never happened again. That gives you an idea how popular he was. So anyway, he shows up at Wingfoot. I didn't caddy for him, but I remember I went out and followed him. I remember who was in the group. It was him, Doug Sanders, his manager, and Kelly Mosier.
It was better than the US Open because you had so much gambling going on here, right? What was the gambling like?
Exactly. Well, first of all, he had a cane because he had crashed a couple months earlier. So he was limping. He took a cart, but he had a cane with him. And the cane had it was encrusted with diamonds on the top in the symbol of a motorcycle. And it was a flask. He showed it to me. He unscrewed the flask and he filled it up with vodka. So, he would walk down the fairway and he would drink out of this cane. And he was by far one of the most charismatic people I ever met in my life. I mean, an incredible personality.
They had stupid bets. Like, I remember on 3 where Doug Sanders hit it in a bunker. That was a now this is back in the mid-70s, right, John? It was a $500 negative garbage. So you lost 500 to every other guy, right? But if you got it up and down, you got 1,500. So there was $1,000 profit to be made by putting it in the bunkers.
Exactly. The other interesting thing was they let the caddies hold the money. So they paid out on every hole. Every hole was a payout. So whoever lost the money, they had to pay out, and the caddies were holding the money. My memory is they played Winged Foot twice. And the first time they played, they had Doug Sanders was famous for traveling with escorts. And they had 2 escorts with them, beautiful women in a golf cart, and they let me ride in the cart with them.
Oh.
So here I am, a 12-year-old kid riding around with these 2 escorts, and the cart's filled with booze, and these guys are playing for a couple $1,000s a hole. And I looked around and I thought, man, this is it. I'm gonna spend the rest of my time watching this and doing this. I mean, I was hooked.
So I got a real cute story for you. So Dad goes to me, Arnold Palmer's coming up. You want to go with them, and I was like, you got to give Martin, if you're going to give it to somebody, give it there it is, let Martin caddy for Palmer, but put me out in the group, let me make sure everything goes all right. So I was just senior caddy back then at that time. So Martin goes on the first hole. He says, hi, my name is Martin, like we were all taught. I'll be your caddy today. If you need any help, just ask me. Otherwise, So he goes, great to meet you. And Palmer, he was so nice. And so on the first hole of the West course, he says, hey, Mark, how far do we have? And if you know my younger brother, Martin, he had a little, not attitude, but, a little defense. And he goes, let's get something straight. It's Martin. So Palmer for 17 holes called them Mark, Mitchell, anything but Martin, Matthew, the whole nine. He wouldn't call him Martin. And, so I went to Martin. I said, he's busting your child. Yeah, I got it. So they come in, that picture right there, Dad sitting there, all the dignitaries come around and they're all standing around, and the head of the group that the reason why Palmer was there. And Martin says, I've been caddying for a few years now, and I never had so much fun. And I'd really like to thank you, Mr. Nicholas.
But you guys are terrific. You know what? When I walk at Winged Foot, and I walk a lot on the course, and I feel privileged to walk on the grass that every great player that's ever played the game has walked on.
Thanks for joining us
Casper,
today.
Billy
We
Harmon,
really appreciate your
Double
feedback.
Indemnity,
And please
Markey,
subscribe to the
Two
show
Outer,
and hit the
Claude
bell
Harmon,
icon so you get notified
Movie
of
Classics,
new episodes.
Mark Gable,
Hit them
Odd
hard
Job,
and hit them off.
Best 36 Holes.